It's Wednesday, that means it's DeFi time. Let's take a look at some charts. First, we have Bitcoin dominance, which has taken a massive hit since the beginning of the year, essentially just getting drained, currently sitting around 62-63%. I suspect we'll see overperformance for BTC in the next few weeks, and if things pull back after that, I suspect BTC overperforms alts as well, as in alts drop a significant percentage more than BTC, so you will see a pop-up in dominance here. I don't think dominance is necessarily tradable, it's just a good weather vane of a visual of what's going on in the market. If you look at the Uniswap perp, which is the top 100 coins on Uniswap, just continuing that climb, higher highs after higher highs, with a bearish divergence here. So nearly everything I'm going to look at today is extremely ripe for pullback, has high pullback potential, especially if people are levered up on any of this stuff. There's an increasing long squeeze risk as longs get margin called, funding super high everywhere, people start closing, then you get this waterfall, insane down day because no one knows how to use leverage properly because everybody in this market is a retail FOMO maximalist. That's just the way it is and the way it always is going to be. So the Uniswap perp 200-day moving average is way down here, or the 100-day moving average rather, because this is the 12-hour, but this is just, obviously super overblown. DeFi perp on the 12-hour, also very overblown, also bearish divergence on these highs here. So it wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of weeks if we see some slowing down here. This is the total too, so this is the crypto market cap minus BTC or excluding BTC, and you can see the sort of the difference between DeFi perp and Uniswap perp, which is at highs but isn't as parabolic as this. So this to me just shows that everything is moving here, not just DeFi. This includes DeFi, but everything is up right now a significant percentage since the beginning of the year, since March, since May. Total 2, if you were trading it, would tell you to go long in May, and you're adding end of last year, and you're just holding because it's just a straight moonshot. Everything is just up several multiples at this point. Looking at Link, probably the least exciting coin at its all-time highs here, just doing what you'd expect it to do in this pitchfork. Here's your sell zone, here's your buy zone. So it's approaching the sell zone, it's approaching the yearly pivots. If this just continues to go flat or sideways, that would be fine. If it pulls back to the median line, that's also fine. Trend-wise, that's expected. Throughout the trend, you're going to get several snaking price action in and around the median line. This is probably the most impressive I've ever seen on any pitchfork, just holding this range so tightly for so long. So bullish, no major concerns there. I can pull back to 24 and be fine. I can pull back to 16.5. I can pull back to 13.5 and be fine as far as the health of the longer term trend. Here's Aave, which finally saw a down week last week and is seeing some down days, blasting through the R5 yearly pivots. Just as people were calling for $1,000 Aave, it decided to pull back a little bit. No surprise there. This consolidated and had a slingshot since the beginning of the year. So this up move is warranted, but the higher this goes, the harder it is to sustain, obviously. I mean, this was another impressive move from March through September, but we'll likely see consolidation here along with everything else. I think all this stuff again is just gonna cool off. Here's Uni talking about cooling off, multiple days, multiple weeks in this range now, which is completely normal and fine and expected after a parabolic move. Completely healthy. You got support at 18, support at 13.5, support at 14. There's tons of reasons that this isn't going to go to zero, but looks like it could pull back pretty significantly. So I would expect just sideways or down over up at this point. SNX, also an insane move since December, just walking its way through these yearly pivots like they're butter. So lots of support on the downside here. It's hard to know, is this going to be a multi-month pullback like it was in August to November? Is it just going to go sideways like Uni? It's a tough call, but at some point, if it's several multiples above the 200-day moving average, if it's several multiples above itself since January, I mean, it's what, a 4x since January? That's insane. I mean, at some point people are going to start taking profit, funding's going to catch up, blah, blah, blah. You know, the same song and dance with all this stuff. UMA had this explosive move in early February and has done what everything else needs to do and just relax a little bit. People are taking profit, people took profit, whatever. This is healthy. This is normal. This is fine. Trend is intact. Everything's okay. This is expected. So support here at 22, 21 if 26 fails. But I wouldn't expect this to make another 2x anytime soon. Wi-Fi, slow grind up for Wi-Fi compared to everything else. It has held above the 200 period moving average on the 4-hour. It's held above this VPVR support now. So as long as it can hold above 29.7, 30K basically, it's fine. If it can hold above 23K, it's fine. Anything below 23K, and then the supports really fall off the table. So if it can hold above 23K in the long term, should be a fine bullish trend overall on balance. I would just never trade this personally because I think there's better charts to trade, but there's tons of support at 29 and 23. Comp USD also working its way up the pivots. Virtually no VPVR support until 260. So like a lot of this stuff, the table could come out, the rug could get pulled, as it were, the tablecloth, however you want to think of that. All this stuff could mean revert to the 200 moving average, or the 100-day moving average in this case, which would be 260, and there's a bunch of volume support at that level. It's the previous all-time high. That would be an ugly move, basically 50% down, but it's possible. I mean, that's where I'd want to buy some if I was trading this actively. REN has this nice rising wedge thing working for it here. It did hit $1, so it's at this psychological support resist level of $1. It's got yearly pivots at 90 cents, and then below that 63 cents. So just like comp, I'm not really a buyer until I see a massive pullback somewhere around 63 cents in this case. Serum had a nice run up, ran through this VPVR resistance, created some supports on the way up. So it's got some support at 312, at $3, 240, 190, $2. So that's what I'd be looking at. As far as support on the way down, I like 260 as far as the 200 period moving average here on the 6-hour. Just as a nice level for a rebuy if things get nasty. ALGO had a very swift run up after this inverted head and shoulders confirmed itself after you got a new local high, a new multi-month high in February. Nice little 2x plus since February. Interesting case of a rising wedge that just exploded to the upside. This is clearly parabolic, clearly needs a ton of retracement here. People are going to start taking profit once they realize the move is over, and that's going to collapse and crumble upon itself. I mean, all this is just the same over and over again. So I'm much less bullish on this stuff than I was for the past 2 weeks, just because at some point most of these people are probably going to take profit. Here's Band, which probably had the most orderly up move out of everything. You had a reconsolidation here, move up, now you're reconsolidating again above a yearly pivot. So 15 looks like a good support, and if not 15, then we're talking somewhere between 10 and 11. I think it did hit a new all-time high. If this does make another move up, I'd be looking at 26. This looks the least overbought compared to everything else. DOT on the 6-hour, just an insane chart. Another type of rising wedge type situation. Really no support until 20, where this consolidated for a few days in January. And this is, to me, a very dangerous one because although it did get listed, consolidate for a couple months, and then blast off with everything else, I would just be worried that this will just bleed back. Once the actual high is in, this will just bleed back to sub $10. So you'd probably be a buyer at 17.20, but if that doesn't hold, this has a real risk of dropping to sub 10. Kava, another parabolic up move that needs tons of retracement. Looks like I hit a potential all-time high here. Monthly pivot R5 at 6.5, support at 410, tons of support at 250. So that's where I'd be a buyer personally. I'm just looking for absolute blood in the streets across the board to buy any of this stuff at this point, just because it's so overbought all over the place. Sushi, another kind of like Link-like uptrend, just orderly, hit the 200 period moving average on the 4-hour a bunch of times, just slow. This is what you want to see. You want to see opportunities for people to buy and sell at every price level on the way up. You don't want to see FOMO, you don't want to see fear, you don't want to see euphoria, just a general uptrend. It is the 4-hour, so this is a pretty quick trend. If you go to the daily, this looks insane, right? But it does have support basically from 10 to 12 is where I'd want to get in this personally. And if that doesn't hold, there's not much left support-wise. Maybe support at 8, support at 5 based on the pivots. But then below that, it's, most of the life of sushi has been sub 4 as far as the volume is concerned. So not a lot of volume above 4 thus far. BZRX, just a straight shot up since this falling wedge type pattern. So it hit the 1618 measure move of the falling wedge, and it's gone beyond that to a pivot. Tried to touch $1. It might have touched $1 on a wick. I don't know enough to turn that on to check. I doubt it. Probably came close to like 90 cents. But I like 50 cents as support. I like $1 as resistance. I still wouldn't touch this. I would want massive retracement still on BZRX. 1 inch, here's the 2-hour. So like I said last week, a lot can happen between this week and next week. Overall, this looks the least bullish out of everything. Continues to consolidate, which is maybe for the better. Last week I mentioned this potential head and shoulders. Since then they've airdropped a bunch of coins, which is going to cause a punctuated equilibrium in that you're adding a bunch of supply to the market. So you should see bearishness here because most people aren't going to hold 1 inch. They're going to sell it immediately. So I think that adds to the bearish pressures here. So if 450 doesn't hold, I'd expect some support at 3, some support at 250, some support at 2, just all the psychological levels on the way down. $4. Any of those 50-cent increments probably look appetizing for people looking to get into this, but this also has a 2-hour bear cross coming up on the MAs here. So if I was trading this, I would want to re-long the bullish recross of the 2-hour EMA, 2-hour EMAs, yeah. All right, so that's DeFi this week. A little less exciting than last week. Everything looks definitively cooling. The lava flow is solidifying. The volcano has ceased to erupt for a little while here, which is normal and natural, needs to happen if this wants to keep going. It's just common sense, just how every market everywhere operates. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments below. And if you want to check out how I'm trading this, you can pop over to Enzyme.Finance. It's a non-custodial portfolio management tool. Technically Capital is us here, and right now it's just BTC and ETH, but we'll soon also have a DeFi fund that we will be semi-actively trading and management, so you can check that out as well, and happy trading.